Hello, good evening. So there was something that was just on my heart that I was doing a voice message to a friend about, and I kind of felt like, hey, let's do a video about it. So here we go. I want to read Matthew chapter 26, starting at verse 36. This is the passage that talks about Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane before he was handed over to be crucified and before all of that went down. It says in verse 36, "Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, 'Sit here while I go over there and pray.' And taking with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, 'My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me.' And going a little farther, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, 'My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will.' And he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, 'So you cannot watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak.' Again, for the second time, he went away and prayed, 'My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done.' And again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words again. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, 'Sleep and take your rest later on. See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand.'" This is the English Standard Version, and it talks about it here in the commentary at the bottom. This is a ESV Fire Bible. Definitely recommend a Fire Bible, especially for high school students, middle and high school students. But I want to read some of that. In verse 37, it says, "He began to be sorrowful." And the commentator says, "This is the first stage of Christ's sufferings, which would eventually lead to his death. The physical and spiritual sufferings of Christ begin in Gethsemane as he prayed about what was ahead. His sweat became like great drops of blood," Luke 22:44. "Under extreme intense stress, the small capillaries in the sweat glands can break and mix blood with sweat." So I remember learning that growing up in church, and I feel like I just got a new understanding about it. So I believe that there are probably various dimensions of what it means to abide in the Lord, like John 15 talks about, but there are two different aspects of it that I've been learning. There's one side of it that involves us spending that quiet time with the Lord. It's not so much like as super stressful, or like it's having that quiet time, listening to him, reading the word, just having that time with him when we're still in his presence, when we're speaking and listening to him, where we're soaking in the word, that kind of thing. Then there's another side of abiding that is, I have a picture of like someone is in the midst of a storm and things are going absolutely wild around them, and they are clinging for their life onto something, whether that be like if they're in the ocean, like a buoy or a piece of like driftwood or something, that they're clinging desperately to whatever that thing is that's keeping them alive in the midst of the chaos happening around them. So I'm learning that abiding is not always pretty. It's not easy. It's not always easy to abide in the Lord. And maybe it's just something that we have to learn in more difficult seasons where we're kind of like pushed to cling to the Lord harder. But I think it's interesting. Like, I love John 15. And John 15 talks about, I want to find it. John 15 talks about abiding in the Lord, and I want to read verse 5. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing. So that whole chapter, or a lot of that chapter, talks about abiding in the Lord. He's the vine, we're the branches. And a lot of times when I hear abide in the Lord, it's like sit in the quiet, enjoy his presence, and it's like something joyful, like something like makes me happy. And not that it doesn't make me happy to cling to the Lord in difficult times, but I guess that goes more like deeper to joy. But I think, well, in both aspects we could have joy. But basically what I'm just thinking is like abiding doesn't have to look cute. Like sometimes it could be cute, like like YouTubers and like people post like their Bible open and the highlights and all like the cute like Bible journaling, and that's awesome. Like that's fantastic, and that definitely cultivates a love for the word, and I'm sure, and of course for the Lord in our hearts. Journaling, stuff like that. Then there's just that other aspect of it that is like a deeper, it's almost, I don't know if I want to say more painful or more difficult. I mean, definitely more difficult, because it hurts. And we look at this where Jesus is sweating blood. I don't know of anyone else who has ever undergone that much stress. But to think that Jesus went through such a painful moment of him abiding in the Father, why would we not expect to go through difficult things, or we have to go through seasons and processes of learning how to abide even when it looks like snot and tears or drops of blood falling from our foreheads, which I don't know if anyone else has ever experienced, but maybe, but not with the same burden that Jesus had. But maybe it's just an encouragement for us. Like, don't be discouraged if your abiding in the Lord doesn't look pretty. Like, don't be discouraged if you're crying every time you come to him, or you don't even have words, or you're wrestling like Jacob wrestled with the Lord. You feel like it's wrestling with him. I mean, what it should always lead to is surrender. So I'm not saying that it's okay to just, I don't know how to say it. I mean, I'm just saying that whatever our quiet time with the Lord looks like, our abiding looks like, it should always lead to surrender. So I have a thought, I just don't know how to word it, but it's okay. So if you're going through a tough season of turmoil, of high stress, anxiety, depression, whatever it is that you're experiencing, maybe just things around you are crazy and you don't know how you're going to make it through, and you're clinging to the Lord like with everything that you have, that's okay. Like, you don't have to look pretty with makeup, and I mean, we're beautiful with or without makeup, but I'm saying that you don't have to look pretty. Don't feel the pressure to come to the Lord like always super, like, you know, like sometimes we're not going to be like that. That's just how it is, because seasons are different. So there will be seasons that it'll be easier for us to go through our books and highlight things and do devotionals and things like that. And then there may be seasons that it takes everything in us to just open up this word and trust in him and take him at his word, and to just hold on to the words that he's saying, the promises that he's giving us. Or maybe there will be seasons that it's just a struggle. But if I can just encourage anyone, it's okay. Clinging to the Lord may look different in different seasons. But my prayer is that no matter how much of a struggle it is, that we always remember that it's going to be worth it, and that we always come back to a place of surrender, or posture of surrender. So we could be in our prayer closet and wrestling with him and struggling with our yes, giving our yes to him, or struggling with the decision or whatever it is. But it should always come back to knowing that his will is best and saying, okay, Lord, I'm really struggling right now. I'm really going through a tough season right now. I'm going through some hard things, and I am clinging to you for dear life. And I know that even though it may be difficult, I know that it's going to be worth it. Maybe I should redo this. Maybe not. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I just pray that you're encouraged to know that if your abiding isn't, I'm like stuck. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's okay. I think there's there's so many more different things to learn about what it means to abide in the Lord. But just the revelation that I've been receiving in this season is that abiding in the Lord is not always easy, and it requires like an endurance and a perseverance. I think about running and how we have to have endurance endurance and stamina to literally physically run, and spiritually to run our races of faith. And part of that stamina, part of us building that stamina, is in this abiding. Wow. Jesus himself 3 times saying the same words, my Father, if it be possible, if this cannot pass until I drink it, your will be done. Let this cup pass from me if it's possible, but nevertheless, whatever you want, let it happen. Let it be so. It was like his painful abiding, if I can call it that, was part of what strengthened him and gave him the stamina and endurance to be betrayed right in the next verse, in verse 47, and then to be put before the council, and then to be delivered over to Pilate, and then to be crucified, to be flogged, and then to be crucified. So that time that you spend abiding in the Lord, whatever that looks like for you specifically, it's building stamina. And if it feels especially difficult, then I would even venture to say that there could be something really big coming your way. Good. Like, we don't know sometimes like what the Lord's preparing us for. And it may be a thing that we have to say yes to something that doesn't feel good. Obviously, I don't know if anybody would choose just because to be crucified and skinned alive and beaten and mocked and spit at, or to go through any kind of suffering like that, unless they knew it was for a bigger purpose, like unless it was like this, But yeah, don't get discouraged in well-doing. Don't get discouraged in the midst of abiding and clinging to the Lord. And I wish I had something just to I don't know, something just to cling to, just to show it, to represent abiding in the Lord. man, but don't give up. Like, oh, my elbow fell. Don't give up. Whatever season you're in, even if you know, like, maybe you're struggling or wrestling with the Lord about something that you know the outcome is going to be difficult. And that's hard. I don't want to act like I have perfect words to respond to that, but what I can say is that the abiding is worth it. And the abiding will strengthen you in ways that you may not even realize until you're on the other side of it. And then you look back and you say, wow, Lord, thank you for giving me the empowerment to go through all of this because you were faithful to see me through to the other side. Jesus struggled in this section in chapter 26, went through this painful abiding, went through all of this struggle until, keeps going, until in chapter 27 when he dies, and then he came out on the other side of it. And he went through it. Hebrews talks about this. He went through it because he knew it was worth it. He's seated at the right hand of the Father now because he endured the cross and everything that came along with that. So, cling to the Lord. You may not know what resurrection is on the other side of your endurance. You may not know who, as I remember hearing this in high school, there's someone on the other side of your yes. Whatever it takes for you to get to that posture of surrender, there's something on the other side of it that you're going to look back and you're going to say it was worth it. And no better example do we have than Jesus himself saying, you, Erica, you, whoever is watching this, you were worth it. Ashley, Brittany, Tiffany, whoever is watching this, you were worth the painful abiding. You were worth all the suffering that I went through because I love you with an everlasting love. That's his heart for us. And another thing is that when we abide in the Lord, Jesus was able to walk in alignment with the heartbeat of God. When we're close to the Lord, like when someone whispers, you have to come close to listen. And when we abide in the Lord and we cling to him, it's like the disciple that laid his head on Jesus' chest. It's like listening for his heartbeat, even though we're scared. Oh, and Jesus is the one we're holding on to in the storm. Just imagine, okay, I know this is long, but bear with me. Imagine you are in the ocean, no boat or anything. It's a storm happening around you, and you are in complete chaos. Chaos is happening all around you, and you can't do anything about it because it's outside of your control. And you are clinging so desperately to the one thing that you know is going to keep you alive. That's exactly what Jesus did. He held on to the only one who he could depend on. That was his Father. And that's what we have to do. We have to cling to the only rock. All other ground is sinking sand. We have to cling to the rock, to Jesus, the cornerstone. We have to cling to him because he's the only one that's going to keep us and see us through. Apart from him, we can do nothing, like John 15 talks about. Oh, so, man, there's so much in this. So, as we're abiding, I'm just going to use this water bottle. Let's just say this is Jesus. We are clinging to him. And as we are clinging to him, he endows us, he empowers us with his resurrection, life-giving power that enables us to go through whatever it is that we have to face. because he is that good. He is that faithful. Sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he allows the hard things, the hardships to happen, but it's not because he doesn't love us. It's because his ways are higher than our ways, his thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and he knows that there's something on the other side of it that's gonna help us, help someone else. His thoughts are higher than ours, so we may not understand until we get to the other side. Maybe we'll get revelation in the midst of the valley. Maybe we may not know until heaven, until we cross the threshold into eternity. I think we're gonna have a lot of revelations, instant revelations, as soon as we cross that threshold. Man, but while we walk this road, until we walk on streets of gold, we have to endure, and we have to stay encouraged, and we have to abide, and we have to say that your will be done. I may not know the why or the purpose behind the hardship or behind the stress, the hard things that I have to go through. I may not understand at all in my lifetime. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But if anything, I'll only know partially, because there's things that we won't know until heaven. And man, it just encourages me so much to think about heaven, to think about eternity, and to think how thankful we're going to be when we are in the very presence of the Lord. I remember I had a dream. If I ever had Jesus in my dreams, this was definitely one of them. There was a series of things that happened, but at the end of it, I remember it was like a hill, like a sunset, like people literally like walking into the sunset, and this beautiful green hills. People are walking to the sunset, and I remember it was me and one of my friends, really one of my mentors. Her name is Stacy, if she's watching this. And we were both hugging Jesus' feet. Like, we were both at his feet and like hugging him and crying tears of joy because we didn't give up. So I know that it's hard because we can't see him physically. I know it's hard because what we see around us may seem so contradictory to the promises and to the good things that he talks about, or to, things may just seem very in contrast to our faith, but they're discouraging. Things may just seem very discouraging, but don't give up. Galatians 6:9, the Passion Translation. I can't remember it right away, but I'm just going to read it. I know this. Thanks for checking it. I mean, if you're still watching this video, thanks. Because I'm processing as I do it, and that's why I say that these are nothing fancy. This is literally me processing and getting revelation as I'm trying to share stuff. Galatians 6:9. This is my favorite translation of this verse. In the Passion Translation. Yes. So it says this. And don't allow yourselves to be weary in planting good seeds, for the season of reaping the wonderful harvest you've planted is coming. Take advantage of every opportunity. This is verse 10. Take advantage of every opportunity to be a blessing to others, especially to our brothers and sisters in the family of faith. I think it's funny. The last verse 11, he says, I've written this letter to you with my own handwriting. See how large I have to make the letters? I think that's funny. But stay encouraged. Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. And remember that to choose the will of the Lord, you'll never regret it. You'll never regret it. Even if it feels painful and it's difficult, I promise you, and Jesus promises us that you'll never regret that decision. You'll never regret surrendering to his will. So I encourage you to lean into the Lord. Lean into all that he has for you, into the dreams he has for you. Lean into the difficulties in this process that he's taking you through. If it's something that he's showing you that, okay, you're gonna have to go through this, then I pray that he gives you the strength and the grace to go through it with excellence and with courage, and that you will push through and endure in your race, so that when you come on the other side and you are in the land of your breakthrough, you are in the land of the living, and you see the goodness of the Lord, you will look back and you will see that his goodness and mercy were chasing you down the entire time. In the valley, in the mountaintop, on the way down to the valley, and on the way up from the valley. He was faithful the whole time, and he is faithful to the end, because he is our faithful and true King, who will come riding on a white horse with the new name branded on him and giving us new names. There's so much joy and there's so much hope in him, and I pray that we stay encouraged by that. Even if you feel like all you have is a mustard seed of faith, you hold on to him for dear life, because I promise you it will be worth it. Don't even go by my promise. I'm saying because Jesus promised us that, and he is faithful to his promises. God is faithful. If there is anyone you can trust, it's him. So cling to him, abide in him, trust in him, because he will see you through, and you will see your breakthrough. Didn't mean to hit my Bible, but stay encouraged. Thanks for listening to this, and love you. Thanks for listening. God bless you. And I'm just praying for sweet, sweet, sweet blessings over your life. The big blessings and the seemingly small blessings that are really so much bigger than we realize. So stay encouraged.